Where does the competition for power within the NDC arise? Why should it even be an issue? At a time when within the NDC itself, the parliamentary caucus must have unity. When the party is in opposition, your frontline fighters are the members of parliament. That's where the fight is. And your capability of waging the fight against your opponents rests on the unity that exists among the parliamentary caucus. Why go and divide it? Why? Is it because you want to show who is in charge? This issue of new king, new law. New king, new law to what purpose? A powerful king is one who is magnanimous. A powerful king is one who is humility itself. People wonder, why did Rawlings last 19 years? Because the man was a very humble man. People don't seem to understand. Why? What was the source of Rawlings' charisma? The way he related to common people. That was the source of his charisma. Not because he was Chairman Rawlings and lorded over everybody, but because he was also consulting. He used to call it the spirit of humanity. The spirit of humanity. Compassion towards other people. You are in a position you don't lord it over other people. Because how you treat other people is your source of power. The way you relate. You are not powerful when you become a dictator. You are not powerful when you are feared. You are powerful when you are respected, when you are revered. That is the source of power that you want. Now, as I started, the fat is in the fire already. And we have a fait accompli. I don't think the national leadership, in this particular case, the General Secretary and the Chairman, and from what Yamin is saying, he was part of the triumvirate who took that decision, will go back. What is important is how we mend fences. Those who feel hurt because they were not consulted or because they were changed without notification, I would say we need to let sleeping dogs lie. Because squabbling among ourselves isn't going to pay us any good dividend. But the man's shady behavior orientation of the NDC must stop. You don't have to trend all the time. We trended soon after the Ayawasu West Wuogon incident. Then, at the Ashanti Regional Office of the party in Kumasi, people had to go and fire guns, trending. Why? Is it because the party is seen as a vehicle that is convenient for people to jump on for their own individual objectives? You may ask, and I have to ask this question, how many people who support the NDC are conversant with the ideology of the party? How many? Even among the leadership. Are they ideologically conscious? What the party stands for? What the party aims to give to Ghana? These things must stop.
These things, he says, must stop. And I like what he says about the ideology, because we're looking for political parties who have a clear understanding of the ideology they want to pursue. And then they can share that with Ghanaians. And Ghanaians can make a choice out of a program of political party A and a program of political party B. Part of the fight that we have been carrying out is that let political parties get away from the fringe argument and make a concise argument that we as a political party, this is how we understand the way in which we have to run this Ghana. For us, our economy will look blue, red, green, white for us. And then when issues come about debt exchange program, we would like to hear from the competing parties that MPP says they're going to do a debt exchange program. We think that we should go this way, or we agree with them, but we think they should tweak this or tweak that. That's how modern societies develop. You always have the fringe elements who do this and that's election time. You always have them. They are part of it. It makes it work. But it shouldn't be the centrifugal agenda of a political party that they are always staying on fringe issues and they are picking up fringe issues and they are not offering anything. And I like Tony Edu when he says that, do the people who lead the NDC actually know the philosophy? I told you the story one time. I did an editorial here. One of the youth leaders of the party asked me whether Alhaji Baba Kamara had ever been a national executive of the party, because I said so. And he was in a hurry to challenge me without understanding that, yes, they don't quite know their history. And it's damning that a lot of our young people don't know their history and they don't feel that it's part of what they have to do in terms of doing the amanyosem, as they say it, the political party work. So what Tony Edu said is food for thought, not just for NDC, but also for NPP and all young people who want to be political in these days. Okay, so that's Tony Edu. Good night to him. Good evening, I should say to him, not good night. I hope he's watching and I hope he continues watching. Next is I was talking to you about Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, and I saw this video and I said, I didn't notice, the news didn't put it at the front line, political stories didn't put it at the front line, that Dr. Bawumia has spoken about religion and whether religion has a role to play in selecting leaders for the MPP as they are preparing to do so, or for any other political party for that matter. He spoke very passionately about the role of religion. Before then, though, his supporters have been sharing this comment that President Kufuor made about Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia. Let's first hear President Kufuor's comments, and then I'll tell you what Dr. Bawumia is saying about religion. This is President Kufuor on Alhaji Bawumia.
The nation must count itself fortunate to have such a son as Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who roundly fills the role of the needed analyst. He is an economist, banker, and also a responsible politician.
Do you agree with President Kufuor or not? I don't know. You choose. But here is Dr. Bawumia talking about the very important conversation about religion. Here's what he said.
We should never allow religion to divide us. The MPP brings people together. We have fought elections on issues. We have elected people on merit. We will not make elections a fight about you being a Muslim or you being a Christian. It is about what you can do for the people of Ghana, your vision and what you can do. So let us stick to the issues.
That's Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia. So you can make what you want of it, what President Kufuor said about him and what he himself is saying about the role that religion will play or should play, or should it have any role at all. You heard him. The verdict is yours and the jury is out on that. So we're going now to take Sabah Hall. But before then, I have already set the suit number for you to see. So it's suit number 16 February 2023 is the Attorney General Godfrey Adame versus the Auditor General Mr. Kwame Aboati. Both men seem to agree in private on everything, but somehow the CDD has waded into the conversation. I've spoken to the Attorney General. I've spoken to at least 6 people on this matter, civil society people, journalists, and all of that, and also to the Attorney General. He's responded to CDD. We're going to walk you through the response to CDD, and then we'll invite you to take a position on the matter, who is right and who is wrong. But this is coming up after the break and after the conversation with Sabah Hall. So we take a short break now. When we come back, we have a conversation with Sabah Hall. Then from there, we run straight into the court of public opinion. Well, it's half court judicial and half public opinion because it's happening in the studio. It's suit number 16 February 2023, the Attorney General versus the Auditor General. That's coming up on Good Evening Ghana. So tell your friend to tell his friend that you can take a ringside view of the matter. After the break, Sabah Hall is next.
Mall? Sure.
Ride in a few taps.
Jones Party? Sure.
Ride at fixed prices you know up front.
Home? Sure.
Ride with in-app safety features 24/7. Ride, surely, with Yango.
A state-of-the-art facility built with your family needs in mind. A medical center positioned for all your fertility problems and other diseases. Medimosis Clinic and Prostate Center. Our goal is to help our patients achieve and maintain optimal health. We have fully functional OPD laboratories in all our branches. Do you have problems urinating? Medimosis is the ultimate solution. Our Prostacure X capsules and Prostacure Herbal Tea treat prostate problems. Afromosis capsules gives you maximum performance, and for the ladies, Femacure X capsules solves all your menstrual problems. Locate Medimosis Clinic and Prostate Center at Adenta Barrier near the traffic light, Ashaman Ajekojo, Kumasi Ahinima Kokobing, and in Accra Ministries after the Ghana Highways Yard. Call 0244 068 447. We accept National Health Insurance card and all other private insurance card. Medimosis Clinic and Herbal Center, your ultimate solution for prostate problems.
Dummy dribbles to the right. He's got an opportunity on the edge of the penalty box. He's gone past the defense. This must surely be it. Goal! It's a goal!
With only 150 pesos, you can win up to 16.5 million Ghana cedis in the Betway Atina Ketia jackpot. A jackpot muhine. Bet responsibly, not for persons under the age of 18. This advert has been approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana.
Secretary.
Yes, boss.
Patron Fakot document in Brem.
Pacho Medeba. Boss, Pacho. Sorry, boss. Father, boss. Na, a drop in name, I'm saying.
It's Unti Tontina 74 Mix Shankar.
Wow.
Over air for general well-being.
Sir.
Very good. And money, money, habit, madam. Kope binato.
Any a crujio.
Kope binato. Ghana for say monim say medumani say make you try aje amanfo. Sa ena me hia edro a ebetwitwa aje me efi yare ahodro bebre. Na metumi agina me na so aje amanfo. Asemi num 74 mixture. Emma me apomodin. E supporting the immune system na Emma me asomdwe.
Edro nyema apemfo. Abata wo ma wo manufo. Ene nkoda wo nimfie duye. FDA aje dwede nkrato yato.
A state-of-the-art state-of-the-art facility built with your family needs in mind. A medical center positioned for all your fertility problems and other diseases. Medimosis Clinic and Prostate Center. Our goal is to help our patients achieve and maintain optimal health. We have fully functional OPD laboratories in all our branches. Do you have problems urinating? Medimosis is the ultimate solution. Our Prostacure X capsules and Prostacure Herbal Tea treat prostate problems. Afromosis capsules gives you maximum performance, and for the ladies, Femacure X capsules solves all your menstrual problems. Locate Medimosis Clinic and Prostate Center at Adenta Barrier near the traffic light, Ashaman Ajekojo, Kumasi Ahinima Kokobing, and in Accra Ministries after the Ghana Highways Yard. Call 0244 068 447. We accept National Health Insurance card and all other private insurance card. Medimosis Clinic and Herbal Center, your ultimate solution for prostate problems.
Mall? Sure.
Ride in a few taps.
Jones Party? Sure.
Ride at fixed prices you know up front.
Home? Sure.
Ride with in-app safety features 24/7. Ride, surely, with Yango.
Okay, welcome back to the show, and we quickly have the John Mensah Sabahall interview. I'd like to introduce our distinguished guest. I begin with the, to my right, the chairman of the committee, Dr. Stephen, what's the full name again?
Brima.
Dr. Stephen Brima is the chairman of the planning committee. That's Dr. Brima. Dr. Brima, good evening. Welcome to the studio, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How long ago did you leave Sabahall?
I left Sabahall in 1991, June.
Oh, June 91.
June 91.
Okay, that's 30.
But 32 years ago.
32 years
Almost
ago.
32 years ago, yes.
So children who were born that time are 32 years old now.
Yes.
Huh? And they've also finished. They finished the university.
They would have finished the university, and for those who were coming back, they would have finished their masters and probably even PhDs.
Yeah, and some of them have children. Who
Some
are
of
in
them have
university
children.
primary.
Who are in university primary level. Yes.
So you've done very well.
Thank you.
All right, and then let me come to Theodora. Theodora, hello, welcome. What role are you playing?
So I'm the chair of the publicity and communication.
Okay, so you're the main person. All right. And Doc, thank you very much for coming as well. Doc, what role are you playing? You are in Sabahall.
Yes, please. I'm the hall master.
Hall master. Ah,
yes,
okay,
please.
okay. So there's hall tutor and there's hall master.
Yes, there's
Do we still
hall
have both?
master and senior tutor.
Do we still have both? Oh, so
Yes.
it's not hall tutor, it's senior tutor.
It's senior tutor. not
Why
hall
do we used to call it hall tutor? We didn't know.
It's wrong.
Okay.
Even people even say senior hall tutor. It's senior tutor.
Oh, it's a senior tutor. Who
Yeah.
is that person? The most senior lecturer in the hall?
No, we have tutorial board. So we have floor tutors. So for example, she can be a floor tutor of 20 students. So all the tutors come together to form tutorial board. And the tutorial board elects somebody who is there, who wants to lead them, called senior tutor.
So senior tutor, does he relate to the hall like the hall master?
The hall master is the overall administrative head of the hall.
Ah, I see. I
Yes.
see. So that's what you are?
Yes, please.
Ah, congrats. How are the students doing?
Very fine.
How are the changes happening?
So far, so good.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
Sabahall,
We don't want you to say more than that. Theodora, tell us, Sabahall is 60 years. Why is that significant?
Sabahall 60 years is significant because 60 years is actually very, very significant in anybody's life. If Sabahall were a human being, she would be actually retiring, right? But we are not retiring. We hope that we are coming together, and then we are also forging ahead for the next 60 years. We hope that we can do much better, and we believe that we can do much better.
What achievements of the past are we taking into the future?
All right, so Mensa Saba Hall is basically a residential service provider for university students of the University of Ghana. And over the course of time, we have listened to the students and we've provided quality residential services. In our hall, you would realize that we have, and I'm sure everybody in the University of Ghana knows that we have the best hall library on campus. So we have done everything possible to make students stay in the residency very conducive. We have persons living with disabilities in the hall, and we ensure that they are well catered for, so we ensure inclusiveness in the provision of residential services. This is a hall that has also produced very notable personalities in the country. Talk of even producing vice chancellors, pro-vice chancellors. Current vice chancellor is a Viking. The Professor Adai Mensah, who was my vice chancellor when I was in the university, is also a Viking, and other notable personalities in the country, Betty Molde Idrisu, and Eslo Usu, and so on. Ibn Chambers.
Oh, Ibn Chambers was in Sabah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a lot to be happy about and to celebrate, and that's why we are doing this. And I don't know whether I could touch briefly on the theme.
Yes, very important.
And the theme is seeking to bring all of us together to achieve even better. So we are hoping that as we celebrate, we bring all our stakeholders, all Vikings, anybody who is associated with the hall. We hope that they all come together. So we contribute our bits to even make the hall a better hall.
Planning Committee Chairman, what are the big activities for the event?
Thank you. So we have lined up whole year-long activities. We actually started with a visit to John Mensa Saba's home in Cape Coast. And that was a very interesting experience. We interacted with some of the family members. We actually even had an opportunity to visit the tomb where he and his wife are laid, and even his parents are also laid. And it was exciting. It was also a humble experience to know that there lies the remains of one of the greatest statesmen of our time, of our country, actually. So that was the program we started with. But after our lunch tomorrow, which is also one of the major issues, activities, we have other programs lined up for the year, such as we're going to have some site visits, we're going to have some student activities, we're also going to have some activities for the senior members of the hall. Then we have activities lined up for our alumni homecoming, games for alumni, banquets, and awards night as well. We're also going to have some health programs and then some lecture programs as well. So the whole year is packed.
Oh, so it's a year-long activity, but the launch is tomorrow.
The launch is tomorrow.
So what's happening at the launch activity?
So the launch tomorrow at 2 p.m. Fortunately for us, we have the Vice President gracing the occasion, which is very significant for us as well. We are coming to launch the program, unveil the logo for the program, and at the same time to also unveil the Saba statue, John Mensa Saba statue, which are now being constructed in full.
A new one?
A new one in full.
At the hall?
At the hall.
Oh, great.
Thanks to our alumni as well. So this is what is going to be the landmark for tomorrow's activities. The launch of the 60th anniversary, the unveiling of the logo for the 60th anniversary, and the unveiling of the statue of John Mensa Saba Hall tomorrow.
Wow. Hallmaster, what role will the students be playing?
Students are key stakeholders. There's a packed event for them. You know, students will come in their numbers to support in many ways. They have even started supporting cleaning exercises. They have started with their own logistical arrangement. For example, after the event tomorrow, we'll continue the celebration with some networking live band show the evening involving students and staff. They are key to that. The students too will also come on board to in terms of the lecture series, because they are the key beneficiaries. So we've put a committee together, like if you identify distinguished alumni and statesmen, we'll bring them on board to deliver the lectures. The students are also putting their bits together to contribute resources to see how best they can support the 60th anniversary projects at hand, because all the projects that we intend to execute, they are to the advantage of the students. So these are some of the activities that the students will be doing, because all of these are also in line with what they are doing.
I see. That's interesting. Theodora, tell us, so tomorrow's launch event, give us more details.
All right, so I think Chair has mentioned quite a number of things concerning that. But what I'll say is that, so we have our alumni president, His Eminence Seth Nyonyo, joining us. He's going to deliver a brief speech, to talk about what the alumni is doing and all of that. And then we also have definitely the vice president coming, and our vice chancellor will also be present, who is a proud Viking, and we are so proud of her. And she's coming. And then we also have Ibn Chambers, who is also our special guest of honor, who is also will be at the event and will deliver.
I see. Where is it happening and what time tomorrow?
So it's happening at 2 p.m. tomorrow at Mensa Sabah Hall.
Oh, at the hall?
At the hall.
Which part of it?
So the dining hall, we're going to have it at the dining hall.
Oh, Sabah Dining Hall, the one in the sky?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to have it there, and we hope that everybody would come for us to celebrate.
But are the students on campus?
The students are there, okay. Yes.
So they'll be giving moral support?
Sure.
So there'll be some drumming and dancing to welcome Dr. Chambers and the Vice President?
Definitely.
Definitely. It's not officially part of the program lineup, but students, some may like to come and charge up peacefully.
Yeah.
Just to meet up
peacefully, yeah.
Yes.
But there's a bit of police presence in your school. Is it okay for us to come?
You're safe.
You're safe, okay.
Yes. Right. The university is doing so with the current dispensation of students, misinterpreting certain issues or policies or decisions on campus. Yes, but
when it comes to chairman, for you as a chairman, what do you want to take out of this celebration?
For this celebration, we have some legacy projects we want to remember, and one of them is to establish an annual lecture series in honor of John Mensah Saba, and then also to establish an endowment fund. So it's not just all celebrations, but we also want to have some legacy projects at the end of our celebration, and that's what we want to.
So you're going to be raising money?
We are going to be raising money
from the alumni?
From alumni and other partners and stakeholders. Yes.
I see. Okay, let me come back to you, Theodora. There's fundraising bits. Is there something you want to share with viewers so they can help those who want to do it?
All right, so there's a fundraising committee in place, but I could add my voice to the word that they have put out there, that everybody should contribute or can contribute in one way or the other.
What are some of the legacy projects he talked about? What are some of them?
So the legacy project, we are hoping that we could set up an endowment fund.
For who?
To take care of a number of projects that we want to undertake. So one of them being maybe a scholarship scheme that could support intelligent students who are pursuing law. You know, Mensah Saba was a lawyer, so we hope that we could collaborate with the law school to do something like that. And then there are other.
Are you thinking of infrastructure? Build another hall, build another computer science hall, build another library, build another.
All right, I think that's the hall master would probably have to speak to that.
Hall master, are you building infrastructure?
When it comes to infrastructure, Sabah Hall leads. Already the alumni has built something extraordinary.
Where?
A fantastic hostel. You see, adjacent the Valco Phase 2.
Yes.
Yes, or close to Sabah Annex B.
Close to Oponglo?
Oponglo.
There's another one built?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Vikings Hostel Limited.
So the park that we used to play ball behind Oponglo is gone?
Yes, it's gone.
I bet the Pele used to come there,
yes,
when we were there.
Sure.
It's gone. It's now a hostel.
It's now a hostel.
Okay.
And it's built on one end of that parcel of land. So there's a second phase of the project coming up.
Oh, on the other side of that
land? On the other side.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
And it's hosting Sabah students. Is it part of Sabah? Is it rental that Sabah makes money from? What is it?
It's for now, you see, because it was a facility that
you have to pay for it.
So pay for it. So it's basically money.
So it's commercial?
Yes, commercial.
So it's not really part of Sabah Hall?
We
You own
jointly
it?
manage the affairs of the this thing. We collaborate a lot.
So do you
all
have
the time.
graduate students there and undergraduate students?
Of course, we have
mixed
we have undergrads.
Do you have graduate students there as well?
We have.
Oh, I see.
A lot
Okay.
of them. So we have 4 in a room, 2 in a room, and then 1 in a room.
You know, I'll tell you a story. One day we were having a conversation in Commonwealth Hall about Sabah Hall and its infrastructure, and we were concerned. And one of us told us that the central cafeteria is not part of Sabah Hall's infrastructure. And we said, oh, really? We always thought it was. He said, no, it's not. Then we decided, Saturday afternoon, we decided, okay, if it's not, then let's go and occupy it right now. There were just 10 of us. So we just marched to Central Cafeteria. We sat down, we ate, and we were happy that it's not for Sabah Hall.
Yes.
So Central Cafeteria is not for Sabah Hall.
No.
But it's so close that we thought it was for Sabah Hall.
I know, it's
okay.
not. It's
So it's for Commonwealth?
Not for the university. It's for the university.
No, it's for Commonwealth. Oh, Hall Master, I didn't know that.
The Central Cafeteria.
Yeah, it's for Commonwealth. It's for the Vandals.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe it's for Commonwealth given to your brothers.
Yeah, it belongs to us. If we could claim it. Is there any other thing we need to know, Theodora?
Yeah, I think what I'll say as probably my last words is everybody should come. If you didn't know, now you know. There is enough time to prepare and come. It's starting at 2 p.m. So from
that's
now
the launch for tomorrow. But when is the flagship event for the year?
So the flagship, okay, so at the program tomorrow, all that will be laid out.
Okay.
At the program. So everybody who comes would know what our activities are and when we are going to hold those activities. Okay. I must also say that Mikhail is a Viking. He's here.
Oh, Mikhail.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he's a
so
Viking.
So we've given you a very good product.
Yes, you have. We agree with that. We completely agree with that. That's Mikhail on the TV. Yes. Welcome, teacher. You have the last word, unless you want to give it to the Hall Master. But otherwise, what's your last word?
Well, we invite everybody, students, alumni, friends, partners, and all other stakeholders to come to Sabah Hall tomorrow at 2 p.m. to witness our lunch and our unveiling of our statue and support us in a year-long program. And everybody is welcome.
Hall Master, we'll give you the last word then.
What I would say is that Sabah is the largest of the 5 traditional halls. So we're actually seeking partnership. And any, whether organization or corporate that want to partner with us, you stand to gain a lot. Okay. So one that kind of corporate brand attachment. So we are appealing to all the organizations to do business with us.
All right, it's 3 minutes to the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. We'll continue with the show, but we have 3 minutes more before 10. We want to start the ringside conversation between the Attorney General and the Auditor General at 10. In the meantime, then, here's Reggie Rockstone defending Hip Life on a BBC documentary. It's 3 minutes long. By the time you come back, we are ready at ringside to give you all the details. This is Good Evening Ghana is live. Thank you very much, Sabah Hall, and we wish you a successful event tomorrow and throughout the year as you celebrate 60 years. Okay, we'll be right back. Here's Rockstone.
When I did what I did, I tagged it. So when a dude put a piece of meat between two bread and he called it a burger, he named it. And that's what I did. I named it Hip Life.
High Life isn't originally from Ghana. High Life was brought to Ghana by soldiers from the West Indies that the British brought to fight the locals. Ghanaian rhythms were pushed into the High Life. We take what is happening outside and we bring our own.
The Jerubile Ambole is the tree. Those that came later, they are the branches. Because when we were children, we didn't have money to buy congas. So we started using our mouth for rhythms. The rap, the jazz, everything is just like you're cooking a soup. You need to have the right ingredients in it for the soup to become tasty.
My name is Reggie Rockstone, the Hip Life originator. I grew up in Collindale, UK, Brixton, Crackney, they call it Hackney. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Flatbush. coming back home to Ghana. 93, 94. When I got off that plane, the smell, the sunshine, the love, right up till we started this movement called Hip Life. And I looked like the folks that they have seen on MTV. I had the short dress, the white beater, the Timbs, the camouflage. But then when I rapped, it was a treat. And that just blew everybody's mind. Not long before I came, Naughty by Nature had blown up with Hip Hop Parade. Oh, and my father always used to say how African that was. Call and response. Now, Boy, I could say that anywhere in Ghana and I get a response. Boy actually is the heave-ho. Anytime we have to move something heavy, it's that sound, and this tells you how powerful sound is. When you pushing something heavy, you need the vim. He. So we go Cho Boy, and on the yay, we're pushing yay. It was so easy for Africa to embrace hip hop. It comes from us. Everything about hip hop is African. Right down to the boogie, right down to the swag, everything. It's only because of that big bad boat ride called slavery is how we got divided. I got an uncle that looked just like Puff Daddy. I want Hip Life to be that good story that lifted black folks in Africa and all over the world. Gave young people a voice.
Identity is very important. If you lose that identity, then you know where you belong to. The mother is her life, but rap is Africa. Africa. Africa.
Okay, we are back, and let's go to the touch screen, and we'll take some text messages, but let's go to the touch screen and start. This is where it gets very interesting. Welcome back to the show, and this is where we get into our elements, isn't it? Just to deliver it. Okay, so we are delivering a suit number, and we'll take our time to explain to viewers what the matter is. Those viewers who want to understand will be able to, sorry, my phone. Those who want to understand will be able to understand it, but it's important for all of us to get it. So we can appreciate what the laws that we have set for ourselves as a country do, and how we need to nuance those laws as well in the context of our social and economic development. Before I get onto the blackboard and start the analysis, can we go to the text message and see what people are saying? I'd like to start with you, Karen. What are people saying?
Okay, Paul. This is from Ramatu Abubakar. He says, wow, Apostle Paul, you are looking chiefy. The smoke fits you, Papa. Samuel Ofusi says, good evening, Apostle Paul, Adam Ultra and your crew. Thanks for showing the only truthful person remaining in the NDC fraternity. Even though Dr. Ido is strict far back at Cape Verde, his fairness, he doesn't compromise. These are the men we need to check the ruling party to bring them onto their toes. And lastly, from Nana Kwesi says, but the question I want to ask is, do we want to develop a nation or religion? Paul, this is my question, because I think building spaceships doesn't matter if the person is a Christian or a Muslim. Over to you.
Okay, so we have this coming from Gastiman. He says, Tony Ado is speaking wisdom, but he must be bold to tell Essiedu Nketia in the face about his awkward leadership approach. He's now feeling the pinch. They started such autocratic ruling during Rawlings' time when he went round demolishing hotels around airports illegally. The law of karma is visiting him, and he is out to confess his atrocities. Also coming from Don Diego, if religion was not a factor, NPP wouldn't always deliberately pick a Muslim as a running mate. Citizen Francis says, when the Attorney General advises the Finance Minister on an issue, he's praised because he suits an agenda. At last, when the same Attorney General advises the Auditor General it is ultra-virus and against good governance because it does not suit an agenda. The AG has backed his argument with authorities, and we expect the other opponent to do the same. Regards to Dr. Mohamed Bawumia and Valentino Ninoy Norte of Clote Kole constituency. Lastly, from Kenny Kenjames, he says, Tony Adu talking about compassion. I remember when the late Eko Awuno came to my office one day and told us about how Tony Adu had pointed a pistol at him because they had a misunderstanding on a road somewhere in Accra. What do you have for us?
All right, so Otuansari says, I agree 100% with Dr. Bawumia that we shouldn't elect leaders based on religious affiliations, but I'll go further to add ethnicity too. We should look at the competencies of the person rather than the person's religion and ethnic backgrounds. Francis Ramos Apia says, diplomacy has failed this country. We need a radical leadership now. He is a nice man though. DMB might be popular in the NPP, but why? But what about the bigger picture out there? And lastly, from Junior Abkar, he says, this means that if we make any mistake and take the country and give it to the NDC, they will remain fighting among themselves so that Ghana will go backwards. DMB is the best president to become. DMB is the best president and in come 2024. Over to you, Anjali, you have anything for us?
Right. So Med watching us from Tabale South says, Paul, it's sad the way and manner the current NDC leadership have resolved to disgrace Honorable Haruna Idrisu and Muntaka Mubarak. But I tell you they have failed already because the dog who has a bone in his mouth doesn't bark a word to the wise is enough. He continues, the NDC is doomed completely in the northern regions, and I need you to watch and see the results in the upcoming 2024 elections. Haruna is no mean a person. He commands a lot of power and following in the north, so you disrespect him at your own peril. From Kaswa Republic, Amisko says, I really support President Kufuor's comment on Dr. Bawumia. Undoubtedly, the NPP will break the eight with Mahmoud Bawumia to continue the good works for Ghana. Junior Akbar says, good evening, Mr. Paul. What Dr. Mohamed Bawumia said is true. We are going to elect our flag bearer based on what you can do. We are not going into religion. We need a person who can move Ghana forward. He continues, DMB is the man, we believe in him. Now, Sumed, watching us from Tamale South, says, in DMB we trust he's the surest bet to win power and break the eight for the NPP. No amount of religious bigots can shake the foundation he has built and continue to nurture for himself. We believe in him. John Ajekum Kufuor could not mince words by describing Bawumia as a political colossus, an economic guru and a banker of substance. No amount of bad-mouthing can prevent DMB from winning the 2024 general elections. Please, the internal detractors must stop now or be shamed. And lastly, from Citizen Francis, he says, John Mahama should stop speaking to corruption-related matters, for he has forfeited the right to do so. When Elvis, Ifriankra, and Kojo were accused of corruption and proven to have mishandled funds meant for participation in the FIFA World Cup in Brazil, he only gave them plush and air-conditioned offices at the then Flagstaff House. He elevated them instead of punishing them. Regards to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Valentino Ninoy of Clote Kole constituency. Back to you, Paul.
That message was read, the last one about Clote Kole. Okay, let's get now to the business. Good evening again. It's 8 minutes past the top of the hour, 10 o'clock, and we're talking about the Attorney General. And I like a text message that came in and said that it was the Attorney General that advised the Minister of Finance that the Ministry of Finance could not unilaterally take away people's bonds, and he was quite popular at the time. Everybody said the Attorney General has stopped Ministry of Finance from taking away their bonds, and he was right. Well, I don't know whether he was right, but he told us that this is the advice from the law. He gave the advice to the Ministry of Finance that you cannot unilaterally decide on how to shape up the bonds going forward. You have to do it it has to be voluntary on the part of the people. So you want them to buy into your debt exchange program, you need to talk to them. That was the advice of the Attorney General. We all applauded him, didn't we? Now we're going to look at this very interesting matter. So we know that the foundation of the story is corruption and anti-corruption. And since we came into the Fourth Republic, there's been a lot of anti-corruption crusading. Corruption is our problem, and corruption here and corruption there, all of that. Some of us have different views on why we are stagnating as in our development agenda. We think corruption is not the key, but corruption is bad. It has to be weeded out, but we think it's not the key. But anyway, that's another argument for tomorrow. Now, the argument here, therefore, is that the anti-corruption agencies have been set up, and NPP and NDC compete with each other when they talk about how they are more anti-corruption oriented than the other party. So NPP will say that they set up the YOCO, they set up this, and now the Freedom of Right to Information Act is there, and all of that. MPP point to all of that. So the Auditor General's office is expected to be one of those offices. Together with Siraj, they form what we used to call the Ombudsman. Those of you who have studied politics for a long time, there is a term called the Ombudsman. And what we have done in the Fourth Republican Constitution with the Ombudsman is that we appear to have divided it between the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice and the Office of the Auditor General. Together, they sort of fit the Ombudsman analysis, especially Siraj though, but the Auditor General also forms part of it. So the Auditor General is expected to audit government work and government payments and all of that to be able to tell us what is happening. In the last few years, we've seen a rise in the image of the Auditor General and the narrative that carries the Auditor General, because civil society have carried it up. Occupy Ghana in particular, ahead of 2016's elections, worked hard with the Auditor General and actually went to court to get a high court decision to say that the Auditor General is able to surcharge people, because Occupy Ghana was worried that every time the Auditor General comes and says that District Assembly X has spent 1 million and nothing happens. So they went to court and said, Mr. Court, when District Assembly 1 has spent this amount of money, should nothing happen? The court said no, the Auditor General has the powers to surcharge. So tell him. So the Auditor General was told. And since then, the Auditor General has tried to do that. That forms part of our story tonight. Now, so the Auditor General has been doing his work, and then we all know the problems Dr. Domelevo had with the government, and the government eventually asked him to go on the basis that Domelevo appears to have forged his age. Civil society was not happy with that. They didn't even check whether it's true or it's not true. They were just not happy with telling Domelevo that he has to leave office. That was a big problem. We've overcome that. Domelevo was found to have changed something that if it was any other public servant, he would have to leave office. Because it was Domelevo, civil society didn't want him to leave. But eventually he succumbed to the law. Domelevo succumbed to the law and he left. Okay. A new Auditor General was appointed. Civil society was against the Auditor General, especially the NDC as well. We're very against the Auditor General. Now, the Auditor General has published something about COVID. Now, the COVID report is coming within a political context. What is the political context? The political context being that, what did I say? I said the COVID report is coming within a political context. What's the political context? So, the political context is that the National Democratic Congress, the opposition, have always been saying that they are concerned about the spending that government did during COVID. Government has also been saying that it is the COVID expenditure and the Russia and Ukraine war that occasioned the difficult economic circumstances that began in the end of 2020, 2021, 2022, and we are still in it. So that's what government says. Government says, before COVID we were fine, but COVID took us there. NDC says, no, the COVID expenditure was exaggerated, and that there has been a lot of corruption, and every now and then we have had Sputnik vaccines in Parliament, and Ajima Menu has had to answer questions. So all of that has encouraged the NDC, that's sniffing quite a bit around COVID and saying that there was some corruption in there. Okay. So then the Auditor General comes up with upon a request of the Ministry of Finance, and that's very significant. Upon a request from the Ministry of Finance, the Auditor General comes up with a report on COVID to Parliament. Okay. And then that's where the conversations begin. Whilst Auditor General sends it to Parliament, he also publishes it on his website, because the Auditor General says that Section 23 of the Audit Service Act says that when he has sent the information to Parliament, he should publish it. So the Attorney General wrote to him and said that, hold on, Auditor General, you cannot publish that, because whatever you have sent to Parliament is inconclusive. Now, there was a conversation there. Some people say what the Auditor General has sent to Parliament is conclusive. Others say that it's not conclusive. Attorney General is asserting, according to the law, that what you take to Parliament is not conclusive. If what you took to Parliament were conclusive, you can proceed on your surcharge. You don't need to go to Parliament. But you take it to Parliament because the Constitution says you should do so. The reason why the Constitution says you should do so is that the Constitution knows that you have to give a fair hearing to people who are alleged to have breached the law under the Auditor General's report. So when you go to Parliament, the Constitution says Parliament shall set up a committee. The Attorney General says that committee is the Public Accounts Committee, the PAC. Now, PAC is an important parliamentary select committee because PAC is one of those, and there are only two of such select committees in Parliament where it is not chaired by the majority in Parliament. PAC is one of those that is not chaired by the majority in Parliament, because we took this law for ourselves, that we want to be sure about sanitizing corruption in the public sector. So we don't want a majority, so that they say they don't want the tyranny of a majority. But tonight we're going to talk about the tyranny of the minority. But because we don't want the tyranny of the majority, we don't want them to chair every committee in Parliament. They can chair all the committees, which they do, but for the Public Accounts Accounts Committee should be chaired by the minority. So when the MPP was in opposition, the Public Accounts Committee was chaired by Albert Kandapa, who is today the Minister for National Security. Now, that committee is chaired by the opposition. So the Attorney General says that the committee referred to in the Constitution will be the Public Accounts Committee. When the Auditor General sends a report there and says that Mr. WXY has done so and so at District Assembly X or GMPC Office Y or some other state institution, the Volta River Authority, that person and the people are called to the Public Accounts Committee and then they ventilate the issues. It's only beyond that you have a final report. When the Public Accounts Committee ventilates the issues and agrees with the Auditor General or disagrees with him, that's a final report. It is upon that the Auditor General is able to go to court. So the Attorney General's point is that your report, which you sent to Parliament, is not final. If therefore you publish it and people are denigrated, the narrative carries against some people, all of that is difficult. Tonight we'll tell you what happened to the 11 cases that went to court from the Auditor General in surcharging. That will come at the end. But this is the conversation. These are the parameters that we set. So then comes in CDD, who is leading the civil society voice, who are very angry with the Attorney General. They write and say the Attorney General cannot ask the Auditor General not to publish. So the Attorney General said, Auditor General, don't publish. Wait for the parliamentary process to finish, and then you can publish. He didn't say don't publish at all. He says you can't publish at the time you published, because if you do so, you will be incriminating people who may have a case. So you don't have to do that, because fundamentally in law, there's a rule called the audiorum partem, hear the other side, always hear the other side. So these are the conversations going on when the CDD wage, and then the Attorney General comes with a very, very heavy response that we are going to turn to now on the touch screen at 16 minutes past 10 o'clock. Suit number 16, February 2023. Okay. Now, we put this here also for the civil society conversation. We write, morality does not occasion transformational changes in a society. Building transformational structures do. I just want people to note it down. I'll come back to it one day, many years later. Morality does not occasion transformational change in society. Building transformational structures do. So what's the point you're making? That somebody is a good person, is a bad person. That's not what occasions transformation. So you have a president who is a very, very good person. It won't change anything. What runs society is the structure. So in thinking about what we think about all the time for the future of Ghana, including our pet subject, constitutional amendments and all of that, let's understand that it is the structures that we change that will occasion not to have a good moral president. He's a good man. I don't even know what that means. He's a good person. So that's not how it works. But this is for the future. We'll think about it later. Let's come back to the conversation. Suit number 16, February 2023, Attorney General versus Auditor General. All right. I'll come to these photographs later. But please, viewers, keep these photographs in mind. I don't know what the 60 Saba is doing in my slide, but okay. All right. Now, let's get to the Attorney General's letter. This was a press release that he issued to the media, telling the media what he has been discussing with CDD, and it's as follows. Okay. Now, press statement. It's entitled, "The Akufo-Addo government must cease its continuous assault on the Office of the Auditor General." The attention of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice has been drawn to a press statement issued by the Center for Democratic Development, dated 10th February, and is entitled, "The Akufo-Addo government must cease its continuous assault on the Office of the Auditor General," in quote. In the said press statement, CDD Ghana takes issue with an opinion by the Attorney General and the Minister for Justice regarding the publication on the website of the Audit Service of an audit into the government's COVID-19 transactions before the said audit report has been debated by Parliament and referred to an appropriate committee of Parliament in accordance with Article 187(6) of the 1992 Constitution. The Attorney General goes on. He says, in addition to various wrong propositions of the law, CDD Ghana characterizes the opinion of the Attorney General as part of, quote, a domineering superior posture that the Akufo-Addo administration has adopted in dealing with the constitutionally independent Office of the Auditor General. Now, that's how CDD describes the Akufo-Addo government's posture. It says a domineering superior posture. Okay, let's move on. CDD Ghana, he says, perceives the Attorney General's letter as an effort to undermine the independence of the Office of the Auditor General and other independent constitutional bodies. Now, the Attorney General is quite worried, and look at the word he uses, quite bizarrely, and in tune with its fundamentally incorrect constitutional theories bandied about by CDD Ghana a vice chair of the board of CDD Ghana stated on a radio program, News File on Joy FM, that the Auditor General is not part of the Audit Service of Ghana, but a separate creation. The Attorney General is concerned. Look at the words he uses. There's somebody went on. I don't know who did. It must be a lady, because I was listening to News File that day. The lady, I've forgotten what her name is. She says, quite bizarrely, and in tune with the fundamentally incorrect constitutional theories bandied about by the CDD Ghana, a vice chair of the board of CDD stated on a radio program, News File on Joy FM, that the Auditor General is not part of the audit service. So the Attorney General is saying that the CDD have misunderstood completely the constitutional position. But CDD has Kwesi Prempeh, and they also do have Kojo Pumpuni. Both of them are lawyers, I believe. But the Attorney General is concerned. Let's see whether the Attorney General can walk us through his concern and see whether he can convince us at the end that he is right and they are bizarrely wrong, as he says. Let's move on. He says the Attorney General considers it imperative to correct the palpable errors contained in and implied by the press release of CDD Ghana, as same distorts the relationship between the Auditor General and the Attorney General in the constitutional architecture of the Republic, and have far-reaching implications for Ghana's record in rooting out corruption. He says, he asked the question, is the Auditor General a public servant? Okay, he answers it. It says Section 2 of the Audit Service Act 2000, Act 584, lays the issue to rest when it lists the Auditor General as the first member of the Audit Service in these terms. The members of the Audit Service are A, the Auditor General, and B, the other persons employed. So he's saying, Attorney General is explaining that if you go to Section 2 of the Audit Service Act at 584, you will see that it was bizarre what the CDD lady said on Joy FM, that the Auditor General is not part of the Audit Service. He's showing you that that is truly bizarre. That's why he said it's bizarre. So let's listen to it again. It says, Section 2 of the Audit Service Act 2000 lays the issue to rest when it lists the Auditor General. So I don't know whether the lady didn't read Section 2. I don't know whether CDD have not read Section 2. But if this is what Section 2 says, and we have checked and it says so, then they were manifestly wrong. That's the law. It's black and white, isn't it? Okay, let's move on. He says, it is thus clear that the propositions of CDD Ghana and its board members can only result from an inadequate reading of the laws of Ghana, including the Constitution and the Audit Service Act. Appointments made to the Audit Service Board must be in consultation with the Public Services Commission. Can the Attorney General advise a member of the Public Services of Ghana, including the Auditor General? That's a question the Attorney General poses. And the answer is here. He says, it is astonishing that CDD Ghana disputes the propriety of the Attorney General rendering legal advice to the Auditor General and construes same as an interference with the independence of the Auditor General. Now he says he doesn't understand it. It's completely astonishing for CDD to assume that advice to the Auditor General, it means that, what word does he use? It's an interference with his work. He's at a loss about why anybody will say that. But why is he at a loss? Let's get the details. Okay. A proper reading of the Constitution, especially the provisions of the Public Services of Ghana, leads to the inescapable conclusion that the Attorney General is fully vested with the constitutional function of giving legal advice to all the public services, specifically listed in Article 190 of the Constitution, including the Audit Service and such other public services as will be established by law. Okay. So, Article 190 of the Constitution is what we have set out here. This is not part of the Attorney General's statement. This is our statement, okay? Now, the Article 190 says the public services of Ghana shall include A, the civil service, the judicial service, and then the audit service. So we are trying to resolve the argument here. We are trying to resolve the conversation that can the Attorney General, because CDD people say that the Attorney General cannot even advise. He cannot advise the Auditor General. When he advises, it's interference. Now the Attorney General is pulling out of the law that he advises government, and that if you look at Article 190, the audit service is part of it. Now, CDD has said that the Auditor General is not part of the audit service. We now know that that is totally ridiculous because the law says it clearly in Act 584 that the Auditor General is part of the audit service. That's very basic. That's very fundamental. Why anyone would think so, I'm not so sure, but that's very basic, okay? We've seen it in the law. So this Article 190 that we publish here, because we have looked at this and we agree with the Attorney General's position. But this is Article 190. You can look at it. It says, public service of Ghana shall include civil service, judicial service, and audit service. How will anybody say that the Auditor General is not part of it? Let's move on. Attorney General continues. Article 295 indicates that the public services listed in Article 190 and other public services established by Parliament pursuant to its legislative powers are part of the civil offices of the government. Okay, in the face of the explicit constitutional mandate of the Attorney General under Article 88 of the Constitution as principal legal advisor to the government, it is incomprehensible and rather illogical how an assertion may be made that the Attorney General has no capacity to render legal advice to the Auditor General. Such an assertion can only be as a result of a simplistic and limited view of relevant provisions of the Constitution of Ghana. Getting very interesting, isn't it? Attorney General says that if you think that the Attorney General cannot advise the Auditor General, then your understanding of the Constitution is very, very limited. You have not even understood it. So we decided to look at it in some detail and present you with some facts so that it can help you come to the conclusion, either with us or against us. You can send your message, whichever way. All right, so now let's look at it. We're going to show you two articles, okay? Two articles of the Constitution. Now, this is not part of the Attorney General. We are adding it. Two articles of the Constitution. Article 88 and 295. And then we see whether, so the issue we are trying to resolve here is the relationship between the Auditor General and the Attorney General. Can the Attorney General render advice to the Auditor General? And if he renders advice, must the Auditor General compulsorily take that advice or not within the context of the government arrangement under the 1992 Constitution, which is the fundamental law of the land? There's no other law that is more applicable than the 1992 Constitution. In fact, the Constitution says any other law found to be inconsistent shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be null and void. So when we deal with Constitution, we don't need to look behind us and check, is there another law that says something? That has been resolved in Article 11 and in Article 2 of the Constitution. 2 says Constitution is fundamental, 11 says Constitution is number 1. So that's settled. Now, let's go to the Constitution and look at two articles and make a determination who is telling us the truth. Okay, 88. There shall be an Attorney General of Ghana who shall be a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to the government. So we understand. Attorney General, Minister of State, he's the principal legal advisor to the government. Then the operative word then will be government. Who is government and who is not government? So we will now go to the 295, which has a definition of government. So every law, like the Constitution, has an interpretation clause. Article 295 is an interpretation clause that defines things that they have said in the Constitution. So if you are government, then your principal legal advisor is the Attorney General. Okay, so let's move to Article 295. 295 says, in this Constitution, unless the context otherwise requires, government means any authority by which the executive authority of Ghana is duly exercised. Who is government? Any authority, individual authority, who is exercising executive authority of the government. Any authority that is exercising executive. So that the work that the Auditor General does, we are now coming to put it in context in this second and determine whether the Auditor General's work is in exercise of the executive authority of government, is it in exercise of the judicial authority of government, or is it in exercise of the legislative authority of government? Government is three authorities: executive, legislature, and the judiciary. We all learned that, didn't we? So we know that. Now, the Auditor General has a role to play. People say he's not subservient to the Attorney General's advice. People say he is. The Attorney General is said by the Constitution to be the compulsory legal advisor to the government. Is the Auditor General part of the government or not? What's the definition of government? Government is anybody who is exercising executive authority in Ghana. The authority that the Auditor General exercises, 5,000% is executive authority. It cannot be called judicial. Why? That is why when he needs to exercise judicial authority, he submits himself to the court. He files a writ against somebody because he doesn't have judicial authority in and of himself. He doesn't have it. He now has to go and cloud the judicial authority from the judiciary. In exercise of legislative authority, he doesn't have legislative powers. Therefore, he submits himself to Parliament. So what the Auditor General exercises is the executive authority. Therefore, he comes within the meaning of Article 295, that he's a member of the government. If he's a member of the government, therefore, Article 88 applies to him, that the Attorney General is his principal legal advisor. If, therefore, the Attorney General renders an advice to the Auditor General, how is that untoward in constitutional development, in building something? How is that untoward? CDD must tell us that. CDD, with all their lawyers, must explain to us why they feel this, unless they have another reason, unless they have another motive. And civil society must tell us whether they have some other motive when it comes to Auditor General, because they were dumb level, went away, and then somebody came and they said they didn't like him. As soon as he has published something and he seems to be in conflict with government, oh, they're excited about it. Where is the understanding to this? The Attorney General is the principal legal advisor to the government. The Auditor General is government. He is exercising executive authority. But Attorney General cannot advise him. In fact, if we say the Attorney General cannot advise him, we will be in breach of Article 88. Because it says, there shall be an Attorney General, shall, not should. That means compulsory. There has to be an Attorney General of Ghana who is a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to the government. The shall also works on the principal legal advisor. So he shall be your principal legal advisor. Compulsorily, you must have the Attorney General as your principal legal advisor. What is untoward about this? Why is it that when we are working about our bonds and things, all the civil society people, they like to disturb us like this? What is the problem about this matter? There's no problem here. There should be no problem. By the reading of the laws, any level 100 student who is reading the laws will clearly know that, will wonder why anybody says Attorney General cannot advise Auditor General. I don't get it. CDD, please come clean. Otherwise, we'll be asking you this question for many days to come. All right. Let's return to the Attorney General's conversation. He says, does rendering legal advice amount to interference? And then he answers the question. He says it ought to be pointed out that the functional independence of the Auditor General under 187 of the Constitution does not confer immunity from legal advice. Legal advice to a constitutional body cannot, under any circumstance, be construed to amounts to interference with the performance of his constitutional functions. A view to the contrary implies that the independent constitutional body has absolute freedom to act in any manner it desires, except when a court of law has ordered, even when its legal advice, whether public or private, is not of the opinion that this sounds an absurdity. Okay, so the Attorney General is saying that it will be absurd and is the product of unbridled sensationalism for anybody to suggest that the Auditor General is independent of the Constitution and is independent of anything. I'm not even so sure why, but I'm going to a video by Barack Obama very soon. The imputation conveyed by the third paragraph of the CDD Ghana press release that Parliament has no power to deliberate on findings contained in the Auditor General's report, and that such an effort offends the general principles of auditing. That's violence to the letter and spirit of Article 187 of the Constitution, which provides. So CDD says that even Parliament has no power to deliberate on the findings contained in the... That's also another absurdity, and it just shows a person who probably does not understand political science. That's what you say. Parliament represents the people. The Auditor General is auditing the people's money. He has finished auditing the people's money. You say Parliament shouldn't see it. I don't even get it. I am Ghana. I'm the people. Now the Constitution, Article 1, sovereignty resides in the people of Ghana. Sovereignty resides in the people of Ghana. So the sovereign is the people. The people have money. The taxpayers' money belongs to the people. The taxpayers' money is being deployed by the Minister of Finance through the budget to various agencies to do X, Y, Z with it. They have done what they want to do with it. Auditor General is a skilled personality within the society who has skill to do this work. He comes to check the work. You say that he shouldn't go back to the sovereign to tell him how I found that your money had been used. It's a clear misapprehension of political science. Very, very simple and very obvious. I don't get some of these things in this society. This is so basic. It's fundamental. Some people say they don't understand. Some people who have PhD, they are doctor, they've done law. They don't understand this, that level SS government understands. The sovereign has money. Money has been spent. An auditor has checked how the money was spent. He says, don't tell the sovereign. You cannot tell the sovereign. Parliament, no. See, if the Auditor General does this, well, he can't even tell Parliament. Do you understand the government system? Do you understand it? I don't get it. Well, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. It says Parliament, so the Attorney General is quoting the law. It's quoting article, and it actually provides explicitly in the Constitution. He's quoting 1876. He says, Parliament shall debate the report of the Auditor General and appoint, where necessary, in the public interest, a committee to deal with any matters arising from it. This is the word, the word of the Constitution about the relationship between Auditor General's report and Parliament. And CDD says it's not important that the document goes to Parliament. I don't get it. I'm shocked. Okay, implicit in the constitutional duty of Parliament to debate the Auditor General's report and appoint a committee to deal with any matters arising from it is the duty to deliberate and probe the reports. This constitutional function of Parliament cannot be wished away by a narrow, simplistic, and erroneous reading of the Constitution by CDD Ghana or any civil society organization. I like the boldness of this Attorney General. Charlie, the guy is brutal on his law. Dofredami's fidelity to the law is like the Archangel Michael and Elohim. You see the relation between Archangel Michael and Elohim. Michael is completely loyal to Elohim. You know that. That's how Dofredami's fidelity to the law is. He's telling them in plain language. And you know, somebody will be afraid that, hey, civil society, they will come after you. He's not afraid of it because he's speaking the law. It's straightforward. What is he saying? He says that the constitutional function of Parliament cannot be wished away by a narrow, simplistic, and erroneous reading of the Constitution by CDD Ghana or any civil society organization. The Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice implore civil society organizations to carefully examine the position of Ghana law on a relevant matter before raising unjustified public alarm over a violation by the Attorney General or any public institution at all. The default in doing so affects the image of the nation in the eyes of the international community, particularly its anti-corruption ratings. The Attorney General is now advising civil society and being very hard on them that before you talk about something, understand the relevant law in Ghana. And you have many lawyers among you, they can tell you, understand the relevant law. If you don't understand the relevant law, don't come and be talking about it. Get the relevant law first. That's what he's telling them. What is this? Okay, it says it affects our system. Now, that's the end of the story. So, great. It's now 10:36, isn't it? So that's 24 minutes to the top of the hour, 11 o'clock. So, yeah, that's the end of the story. But now I'm going to show you another matter. So, part of the Attorney General's concern is that, and give me the photographs of Yao Safo-Mafo and Sylvester Mensah. Part of the Attorney General's concern is this. Domilevo, and I will publish it if they say it's not true, because it's true. So I'll publish it. We don't have time today. Domilevo, the former Auditor General. After the sensation about surcharge, he went to court on 11 occasions. Viewers, please watch me well. Domilevo went to court on not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, not 11. To surcharge people. He was defeated in all. 11-0. He didn't win 1. That is the point of the Attorney General's advice. You come and say that Sylvester Mensah is a thief because you publish the report. The report goes to Parliament. Parliament calls him. He says, what is he talking about? This is not true. They said, oh, is that all? Okay, cool, you can go. He goes away. Then you surcharge him. He goes to court to defend himself. Sylvester Mensah is NDC. Osafo-Mafo is MPP. 2 different people, 2 different political parties. They both won against the Attorney General. There are 9 other cases that Domilevo lost all in court. And this fact I'm giving you, there was a meeting called by the new Auditor General, Ekwamwa. He called a new meeting, new one. Brought civil society there and told them this. They didn't come and tell anybody. From Fort Estate to Suleiman Brahma, they didn't tell us. But this, they think we don't know. We knew, but we are not interested. We are pursuing our work. We knew it. But today we have to say it. We'll be laughing at them in the corridors of our office. That when they went and they said Domilevo lost, they didn't tell anybody. They didn't tell us. Domilevo was defeated 1, 2, 3, up to 11. Because the sensationalism of somebody is a thief, is a thief, is a thief, it does not stand up in a criminal court. In a court of competent jurisdiction, you cannot just say it. So let me give you a classic example. So they say Mr. WVY, whatever, Kojo Menu Boachi. He goes to Public Accounts Committee. Then we are all watching on TV. Then the Public Accounts Committee chairman, Kandapa, says that Mr. Kojo Boedu Boachi, there's a check for 10 million Ghana cedis that was paid to you by the Accountant General on 15th April 2026. 26 hasn't come. 2021. And we find that money was not utilized and is also not showing in the checks that you returned to the Auditor General. Then he says that, Mr. Chairman, I don't know about this. They say, oh no, but your signature is there. They says, Mr. Chairman, I have to go home and then check and come back to you later. As soon as he says that at the appointments committee here, and we are all laughing, we say that he's a thief. That's all you need to be a thief. That's all needs to happen for you to be a thief. Then Auditor General Domelevo is happy, giddy, goes to the court. At the court, it's not about that. That you ask him and he says, I don't know about this, let me come back. He's not a thief yet. The court will say, okay, how many days do you need to find a document? He says, my lord, I'll bring it tomorrow. He brings it tomorrow, they will show Domelevo and say, but the guy has bought a document, he didn't receive the money. And that's the end of the story, and and the surcharge will fail. So that is why, that's the philosophy behind the law. You know, those of us who learn these things, we were taught the philosophy of the law. The philosophy is so that individuals are not jeopardized with image. Because like the Bible says, a good name is better than riches. People's names are important. So you don't call Sylvester Mensah, he was NHIS boss, and then you say he's a thief. He goes to court and the court says not a thief. Yaosafama for your senior minister, Auditor General, Yaosafama who won it. 11, Domelevo lost everything. That he didn't come and say. He didn't tell us. Civil society were told by the new Auditor General. That's the reason why this surcharge is not as simple as that. Because we have lost all the surcharges. People can scream on the radio stations, can scream on Good Evening Ghana, on Good Morning Ghana, on City Breakfast Show, and say he's a thief, he's a thief. But in the courtroom, it has to stand the test of time. And we are building laws in this country. So when the Attorney General tells Auditor General that, wait, he's not saying you can never publish. You can publish, but let Parliament have a look at it. Then CDD says, no, Parliament cannot. Give me Barack Obama. Here is Barack Obama speaking to us about something that I've published before during the Domelevo era. CDD, civil society people didn't like it. I heard Samson Ladi, my good friend, saying that we need strong men. Strong men can die. Strong men can resign. Strong men can leave. So Obama is always right. Samson was saying that we need strong men to build strong institutions. No, laws. The laws will build strong institutions. Presidents don't go around. Akufo-Addo has not arrested everybody because he doesn't want to do it. He knows he cannot do it. He knows that the law does not allow him to do it. So let's build the laws. It's not individual. Let's build the law. If the Attorney General can do this, he can do it. If the Auditor General can do this, he can do it. Let's not hope for some Auditor General who comes in and says, I'm anti-corruption. We don't need an Auditor General of anti-corruption. We need laws. Here's Barack Obama.
Africa doesn't need strong men. It needs strong institutions. Africa doesn't need strong men. It needs strong Africa doesn't need strong men. It needs strong institutions. Africa doesn't need strong men. It needs strong institutions.
So you heard that. Africa doesn't need strong men. That's not what we need. We need strong institutions. So we don't need Domelevo and Kwamwa and Godfrey Dami and Paul Adumotri and Hajia Samira Ramadan. No, these are all strong men and one strong woman. What we need is strong institutions. America has strong institutions. The UK has strong institutions. Culture. That's what we need to develop, the culture. Who can become a journalist? Who should not become a journalist? Who can become a doctor? Who should not become a doctor? Who can become a carpenter? Who should not become a carpenter? That strong cultural denominator is what changes countries. Not Domelevo is our friend and he's happy that he doesn't like Ken Ofori-Atta, so let's support him. And that's how we do anti-corruption. Anti-corruption is built on laws. Okay, my sermon has ended. Now it's time to hear your sermon about everything that I've been saying. Give me a Chief One song, a little bit. Let's get a Chief One song for our people. We're going to play because Chief One was here when I came in this evening. He was there. He says, "Oh, Chief, I'm waiting for you. I came for an interview at Original TV, and they said you were coming. So I was very happy to see him again. So because of that, I'll play a Chief One song, and then get a text message coming. And then when you come back, you and me, text for text, pound for pound. I am on the side of the Attorney General. Where are you on? We think that the CDD is wrong. Very, very wrong. Sylvester Mensah, thank you very much for going to court. Congratulations. Osafo Maafo, thank you for going to court. Congratulations. 9 others, they all won against Domelevo. Give me Chief One. Chief One!
Life is short, star. Me da she my dog, bro. Your problem up, I'm gaka. Me da she my dog, bro. I tried many things in the fall, but me da she my dog, bro. Don't no throw. Me da she my dog, bro. Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you're my bad days, Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you're my bad days. Mala fit malak ba mala grateful. Masa go my life I do la painful. Na mak boda do, man no da go mala plateful. If I thought say God no dey force I be ungrateful. No dey stress yourself, I trust yourself if you not kill yourself. Only you feel right yourself, you dey right yourself, I dey right myself. Big money and needing to function. You get wahala so I dey move with caution. Like a I go shake body. Town no dey cry say walk get body. What is that? Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you're my bad days, Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you're my bad days. Now I cook by Odiga, or put up a foot or Hanoga, put up a guy or joggy, or property, or hockey. Life is short, star, me da she my dog, bro. Your problem of a bum gaka, me da she my dog, bro. I tried many things in the fall, but me da she my dog, bro. Don't no throw, me da she my dog, bro. Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you're my bad days, Monday, Tuesday, every day. If you're my bad days.
Okay, so you heard me. It's time for us to deal with the matter. Hassan Bello has been keeping an eye on Nigeria. He may come to us with stuff on the Nigerian election is next week. It's very, very crucial. Who do we support? I'll tell you yet. But we support somebody. You know, our journalism is never it's never neutral. It's just impartial. So we support somebody. Should I start with Karen? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. This is from Edna. She says the CDD are so incompetent, they must close down. Junior Akbar Tamale says, I think the law is clear. The Attorney General can advise the Auditor General. All those who are saying this or that is nothing but politics is politics, and it will destroy everything in Ghana. Asian says, powerful analysis. Lastly, Larry Abdulmanaf says, Paul has to interview Kwesi Prempeh on this issue. Really want to hear his side of the story. And do you have anything for us on it?
Yes, so Akoto Emmanuel Ado says, oh, Papa Paul, thanks very much for the information about how former Auditor General failed miserably in his bid to disgrace Sylvester Mensah and Osafo Mafo. Domilovo was doing the bid for his NDC masters then. Shame to civil society organizations, especially CDD. And there are quite a few people who are asking what CDD means. That's the Center for Democratic Development. Kwesi P says, Paulus is a serious journalist. I can't help but listen to him all the time. Godfrey Dami is a gem coming from wages or say a limbo. CDD goofed big time. They had everything wrong, including failing to understand that the Auditor General being part of the audit service. In any case, an act from the Auditor General's office cannot overrule the Constitution. Greetings to Honorable Farouk Aliu Mahama MP for Yendi. This is coming from Lukman Aliu. Lastly, from Edward Dubaza, the Attorney General can advise him, which is the Auditor General, but the Auditor General didn't act for his advice because he is too partisan. Akwesi Ejeni-Boateng says the CDD goofed big time. This is the sad reality when an otherwise reputable CSO, which is the civil society organization, metamorphoses into a cheap populist talk. What do you have for us, Eunice?
All right, so from Akwesi Ejeni-Boateng again, he says, next time CDD will not talk Godfrey Dami's case again. He took them to the cleaners. And as Clinton replies with, I tell you, coming from Gertrude Batu-Ahene, she says, fantastic, Paul, no size, great analysis. This is what we call journalism at its best. Andy says, I can't miss Good Evening Ghana for anything. The touchscreen analysis superb, very educative and insightful. I have followed your program for many years, Paul, and you have always been my political science lecturer. Keep it up. Another one from Makoto Emmanuel Ado. He says, Papa Paul, please, the Auditor General has erred regarding publishing his audit reports. I am an auditor with 30 years experience. Audit reports are submitted to management or parliament for those who are capable or otherwise to have audience before they are prosecuted in public. And lastly, from Citizen Francis, he says, when the Attorney General advises the Finance Minister on an issue, he is praised because it suits an agenda. Alas, when the same Attorney General advises the Auditor General, it is ultra-vires and against good governance because it does not suit an agenda. The AG has backed the argument with authorities, and we expect the other proponents to do the same. Regards to Dr. Mahamudu Bamia and Valentino Nino Norte of Clote Kole constituency. Angelo?
Right. Max watching us from Teshi says, this creature called CDD and their likes have a motive, and it's sad. Nana Kwashi says, Paul, this your Batakari looks like you've recently been enskinned. So Kluche says, the CDD used to be a reputable institution, but has been reduced by the current leadership. Junior Akbar watching us from Tamale says, the fact of the matter is simple. You don't even need anybody or any lawyer to tell you that the Attorney General can advise the Auditor General. These politicians will not help this our nation. Now, Rafael Adote lastly says, who built those strong institutions for the U.S.? Strong men did that for them. We also need that strong, unified, and trustworthy men to build those institutions. Back to you, Paul.
Okay, so some people are sending me texts, quite a lot of it's coming, but yeah, we get on with the conversation. It's now 9 minutes to the top of the hour. Hassan Bello has been looking at Nigeria, and he's going to come to us with what he's finding. Bello, tell us, what are you getting from Nigeria? Who's going to win the election?
Well, Obi is still leading.
Oh, I don't think so.
The opinion poll so far.
Okay, so who is this?
Yeah, Uhuru Kenyatta has just been announced as the AU's observer.
Oh, for the Nigerian election. So that's latest there.
Yeah.
Uhuru Kenyatta.
Sure.
Hey.
But it seems AU has this tradition of appointing people
who
just left office.
President Mahama did some of it.
The Gambian crisis.
The Gambian
Mahama
one.
was sent immediately after, so it could be that part of that trend.
Okay.
But then there was this issue with about 240 polling units within the Nigerian not being part of the election at the moment.
So there's polling stations, what we call in Ghana polling stations.
Yeah, polling units.
Yeah. They will not be part of the election.
Yeah, part of the election.
240.
240. And it's
so,
spread
but that's
across,
negligible, isn't it?
And it's spread up, yeah, but it's spread across the entire, what do you call it?
But how many polling stations do they have there?
We have about...
no, is that not what you have?
Yeah. This is a total 176,846.
That's a lot of polling stations.
Yeah. But then 2 states
have been heavily affected.
Hey. Which is Taraba State in the northeast, and then Imo State in the southeast.
I see.
And then in the previous...
But those places where they've been affected, can we call them a stronghold of any particular candidate? Does it mean that people are not going to vote there at all, or those who voted in those polling stations will go to another polling station?
No, there was this expansion of polling units by the current administration of the EC. And so some of the units they created they didn't have any people on the list, so decided to close it. And then they're also trying to, so that's one of the, and so you could look at this place. This is the total number of, polling units at the moment, and 240 is affected. So when you take away 240 from this, so you have now election taking place in 176.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And then previously, these were the number of polling units that was in existence.
119.
Yeah, for the 2019 election.
I see.
So when you take away that from this one, meaning they created
56,873.
Okay. But when you take away the 24 units,
240.
Yeah. So meaning now actively they created 56,633.
Yeah. I see. Okay, let's move on.
And then if you look at the previous, so now let's first look at the law that allowed them to do that. You know, there's this new electoral act that will govern this election that was passed in 2022. It repeals the previous one that was used for the previous election. And so in the part 4 of it, it says that in event of any emergency affecting an election, the commission shall, as far as practicable, ensure that persons displaced, where, for example, in this particular aspect, where the date has been appointed for holding an election. Okay, this is postponement, I think. Okay, this place. Where a date has been appointed for holding an election, and there's a reason to believe that a serious breach of peace is likely to occur if the election is to proceed with on that date, or it is impossible to conduct election as a result of natural disaster or other emergencies, the commission may postpone the election and shall in respect of that area or areas concerned, appoint another date for holding the postponed election. It goes and so it's but then at the section 6, it stated that the decision of the commission under subsection 4 may be challenged by any contestant at the court or tribunal.
So the decision to cancel election to be held in 240 polling stations can be challenged.
Can be challenged, even though it's backed by law. But we've not seen any challenge to that yet.
Okay, let's move on.
But then if you look at the previous election, the result from the 2019 election, you see that in Taraba State, which is one of the heavily affected states, let's look at this. Taraba.
That was won by
PDP. No.
PDP. Okay.
The red sign for PDP.
Okay.
And so automatically, if the same pattern works here, then
okay. So you will call some of those polling stations in Taraba a stronghold of the PDP, which is in opposition now.
We are working by the
so that they will be concerned that the Electoral Commission, as it is usually in Africa, is working with the government to rig the election for the government. Okay.
And then the other state, Imo, which is in the southeast, was actually also won by PDP. But currently, you know, the election is supposed to be a two-man race initially. But then Peter Obi emerging the leader,
as the obvious state,
has changed the color of the election, and then you have a wild card contender, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, the former governor of Kano State. He's also coming from Northwest, which happens to be one of the states that...
Is he running as an independent candidate?
No, he's running as a candidate of a New Nigerian People's Party. And he's running, I think, behind, he's running fourth per opinion polls. But the question here is that, if you look at this election, previously, PDP did well in the northeast, and some portion of the north around this area, and the southeast. But then Peter Obi is coming from the southeast. So what will be the impact of Peter Obi's candidature
upon the areas that PDP were winning?
Won in the previous 2019 election.
So you're assuming that Peter Obi is eating up the PDP support in the south?
It could be that it could affect or undermine PDP's fortune in the south.
But Tinubu also has somebody to worry about, the governor you're talking about.
So his one will be in the northwest, where APC really did well. And you know, voter.
Katsina, Zamfara, and Kano were the big voting areas, and Kaduna as well.
And Kano is a place you need to win in the northwest. It has the highest number of voters in the northwest. And nationwide, Kano and Lagos are very big determinants.
I see.
And then Tinubu coming from the southwest and being the dominant force in Lagos would be considered to be a bit safer in Lagos. What will be the impact of Kwankwaso's contest and candidature on his fortune?
When is the election? 25th of February.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is the economic situation affecting the narrative around the election? Because Nigerians don't even get cash these days.
Yeah, there was this I think withdrawal of the heavier notes.
Yeah, they say they're changing.
It was alleged that it was to fight corruption so that people could return back stolen funds into the system. But then, as it is with every policy in Africa, sometimes implementation could come with its own challenges. So there was problem of availability of the note, and then so on social media, some banks were doing well in terms of doling out the.
So money. You take 100 naira, you get 100 naira.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're supposed to give the old note for new notes. I think it was 1,000 naira, 500 naira.
Those big ones.
Yeah, the big and the 200 naira notes.
For new 1,000 naira.
But
Okay.
No, each note you take, Like they are changing the 1,000 naira note.
Yeah, so if I take 1,000, I get back the new 1,000.
The new 1,000 naira.
Okay.
So whatever note you go, you just go for replacement. And then the duration was a problem. It was very short.
But how does it catch thieves? Because I'm bringing you 100,000 naira, which I may have
The
stolen.
belief
You
was
give me
that-
100,000.
So part of it was there was this, I think, withdrawal control, cash withdrawal control. There's a limit to what you can withdraw, but you can withdraw, you can return so
deposit
much.
a lot, yeah.
The idea was
to mop it up, so they won't take it from you, but at least it's in the system.
Yeah, it's in the system.
Ah, okay.
And I think one of the arguments was that it's supposed to aid in this fight against terrorism and organized crime and kidnapping. Kidnapping is a very lucrative business
in Nigeria,
now, particularly the northwest and the north central, getting towards the southwest. That's one of the things.
Okay, so how was your last word on this one?
Well, on the election, I think it's very unpredictable because if you look at this, and there's an opinion poll recently, I think by Noipo, this February, which still gave Peter Obi the lead. But then if you look at Tinubu's, score here, in the North Center, for example, Peter Obi is polling 24%, as against Tinubu 16%. But then if you look at the same, poll, by the same agency in December, Peter Obi maintained his 24%. Okay, so Tinubu has made some inroads in Northwest, because he is polling 9% here, and then as at now, he's above with 13%. And then if you look at Atiku, in the North Central, he has 4%. And then if you go here also, now North Central, he has 8%. And by when this poll was conducted, there was a very large undecided vote population. And that's another thing we need to look at. And then what will be the impact of the youth vote?
Are the youth not responding to the poll?
Yeah, you see, the argument that the youth are campaigning for Obi or rooting for Obi, yeah, is a fact. But then the youth vote is also not monolithic. There is a disconnect between the south and the north.
So the youth votes will follow the pattern?
They could follow the pattern, or they could also be, for example, you see, the southern part of Nigeria is more cosmopolitan, more influenced by Western culture, or let's say modernity per se. But the north is still a bit conservative. And then when you look at the two parts of the country, identity tends to move the north more than issues of daily bread and butter to a certain extent. So power and maintaining power is what matters to the north to a certain extent. As against the south, where bread and butter issue resonate. So when we talk about the youth vote, it's not that monolithic as a single block. We have to look at it in its different.
That may give Tinubu a huge advantage as a Muslim.
Well, Tinubu won. And let's go back to,
So the Muslim Northerners, who are, as you say, not as cosmopolitan as the South, may look at him as a religious candidate.
Yeah, no, there's this argument that this election itself is just marking the end of one generation and ushering the climax of the other. You know, there's this class of 1966.
Military.
All the top officials who came out of that coup. And Buhari represent the last phase of that class.
It includes Babangida, Obasanjo, and all of them.
That cohort. And if you look at this kind
Danjuma and all those people.
And if you look at the likes of Tinubu, Atiku, Kwankwaso, these were also politicians that the Buhari marks the end of the military.
Of the military one, and this is the
but
civilian one.
They mark the climax of the class of 1993. Remember in 1993, they annulled the election that was announced.
Moshood Abiola's election.
The victory.
Yeah.
These guys emerged out of their resistance
that situation
to the
military. Yeah. That's true. That's very true. That's very true. That's very true.
So once
very good analysis.
The end of one class, it also marks the climax.
The climax of the other one. Yeah. So then after this one, that generation too is finished.
But Peter
and
Obi
then the youth can take over.
So in this same
so Peter Obi can position himself very well for the next election.
He's still the outsider in this.
He is the outsider one, but he can position himself very well for the next Nigeria,
and
for the future of Nigeria.
Labour Party really benefited from Obi's candidature because it was just a fringe party until Obi joined. Even though there's this ideological disconnect, Obi being a businessman and
Obi is a right-wing kind of guy.
He's probably a capitalist.
But in Nigeria, everybody's capitalist. They say even Buhari is.
Well, I think
even the military regimes are capitalists. The Nigeria don't have a
Buhari is a capitalist, but Buhari, if you look at it, not now, but his previous regime was more nationalist than he is now.
Yes.
But then if you look at the likes of Awolowo, Awolowo was a socialist, and he's
in thoughts, but even not in lifestyle.
Even in lifestyle, he started free education in Nigeria first.
Yeah, but that's policy. So that's thought.
No, but just like he wasn't a Marxist, so he's what we call a social democrat.
Okay.
So he's not the Marxist type of, the Nkrumah type of.
Awolowo is NCNC.
No, AG. Action Group.
Action Group, okay.
Aziko is NCNC,
yeah.
and what do you call Sadora
Tafawa.
and Tafawa Balewa, what do you call it, NPC, Northern People's Congress. So now the interesting is that, you know, there's this not young to run bill that was passed into law. So in Nigeria now, at the age of 30, one can contest for the presidency.
Or they reduced the age to 30?
Yeah, it's reduced, because the youth were very angry and very
they wanted a 30-year-old to lead Nigeria. Okay.
So now,
all right. We'll leave it here, Bello. So we'll keep an eye on that. And viewers, you should trust us with the Nigerian election. Do you have any more text messages? Let's take one each as we wrap up this edition of the show. Thank you, Bello.
Okay. This is from Alex24. He says, thanks, Paul, for giving a good analysis for your presentation. We really need good institutions or laws, but not personalities who can even goof in laws. Any for us?
So on the Nigerian election, Fafanyo Charles is saying, Peter Obi is winning this election. Nigerians have bought into the integrity and credibility of this man. The youth are with him, and the youth have the voice in Nigeria. Lastly, from Kojo Heights, unless angels come down and vote on that day, Tinubu will not win the election. Eunice?
All right, so Haj Ahmed says, my political watch show, thanks Paul for your guidance towards Ghanaian politics. Kudos to Paul and good evening, Ghana official. Angelo?
Kojo White says, there is naira scarcity, people are hungry. The CBN governor rationale has failed. Vote buying now cheaper. And that's it from me. Back to you, Paul.
All right, that's it for Good Evening Ghana for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and let's have a good weekend. We'll return on Tuesday next week. It's a pleasure bringing you the show. Good night.